I'm Carmine Gallo. I am so excited today to be speaking to Ryan Serhant. He is the co-star of Bravo's Million Dollar Listing, a real estate entrepreneur, and a best-selling author. The new book, Big Money Energy. And as you can tell, he brings it. He's bringing the energy. Hi, Ryan. Good to see
Ah,
you.
good to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
I dressed up for you because you always look like you don't look like $1 million. You look like the $1 billion transaction man that you are today.
I even during quarantine, when everything went to Zoom, I was still suit and tie when I had to be seen. If I didn't have to be seen, just a call, then jeans and a t-shirt, whatever. But if I have to be seen, I'm a salesman. I'm in the service industry, so what I wear isn't a reflection of me. It's a reflection of how I feel about you. And so I've always felt that you should show respect to the people that you come into contact with. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
No, not at all. In fact, I think it's great advice. There's a lot of good advice in your book, in all the books you write. But big money energy, my big takeaway from your book is if you want to be successful in any field, radiate power and confidence, even if you might feel insecure deep down. What do you think? Is that the theme?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot that goes into it, but you know, when I first came to New York City, I didn't know anybody, not from here whatsoever. I didn't go to school here. I didn't show up with money. I came here to give myself 2 years to build a theater career, which is really what I wanted to do. That was my passion. And then it didn't work out. And instead of treating that as a brick wall, and instead of moving home, and instead of continuing to do something that wasn't going to work for the next 50 years of my life, I treated it as a speed bump and said, you know what, I am going to choose success first, and I'm going to figure something out. And I got into real estate as a means to really to pay my bills. And so I saw all of these people that were successful, who could walk into a room and could command it, who when they walked down the street, you knew that they were somebody in their own field, whatever that was. And so, 10 years ago, I kind of coined this thing that initially I said was big magnetic energy. Man, those people they have magnetic energy. Like, I want that. And I was very much an introvert. I think that's why I got into acting and theater in the first place, because it helped me pretend to be somebody else. And then it slowly transformed into big money energy, because I had no money and I needed money. I needed to pay my rent. I needed to afford food. Life is expensive, especially in New York City. And I wanted to lead a good lifestyle. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you can, there's nothing wrong with needing to make a living and to make the best living that you possibly can. And what I realized is that big money energy is that unique set of qualities that embody what super successful people are. And I think a lot of us have been conditioned to think that the very successful are born into money, or they are really, really good looking, or they're well connected, or they're super smart or educated. And it's just not true. You can change your energy and you can change your life. And that's really what big money energy is about. It is my confidence blueprint for changing your life by radiating success.
Ryan, you have an extraordinary story. A little over 10 years ago, it's hard to believe just 10 years ago, you were a struggling actor in New York City, living paycheck to paycheck, making $9,000 in your first year as a real estate agent. Today,
Yeah.
your team is 1.5 billion in real estate transactions a year. But here's an interesting story from the book, which I really love. Early in your career, a client wanted to see a $2 million listing. You had made some small deals, but you were not in that league, and you acknowledge that. It's the same, but you walked in like you did have $1 million listings. When Bravo was casting for successful real estate agents, you were a small fry.
Yeah.
You only had 2 years under your belt. So to me, again, the big lesson is look, act, and speak like the person that you want to be. So there's a
Yes.
little acting in there as well.
I think everything we do is a performance every day. when you talk to people, you listen to people, you're not mumbling, are you? No, you're performing with words that are enunciated well, that they can hear and they can understand. You might think you're just being you, but you're being the you that you've been taught how to perform as since you were 5 years old. And once you realize that, you can determine your opening line. You can determine who you want to be tomorrow. And that's very different from faking it till you make it. It's very different from lying, right? What that's bullshit money energy, if you don't mind me saying. And there's a whole section in the book where I go into that, where, there's a big difference in radiating success versus walking into a room and saying I'm a millionaire when I'm actually not, right? That's lying, and that's bullshit money energy. But you can determine who you want to be in the future. What kind of person, what kind of character traits do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to have? And you can start being that person today and put out into the world, and the world will give it to you. If you put it out there, the world will give it to you. And that's exactly what happened to me.
Ryan, you're talking about something in the book that I thought was very powerful. You were, again, I love the way you acknowledge the fact that, like many of us, like many people, you were insecure starting out, especially. You were insecure when you auditioned for Bravo's $1 Million Listing. They were auditioning for top brokers, and you had only been in real estate for 2 years. But that is not who showed up for the audition. It was Big Ryan who entered the room, not low energy, insecure Ryan. I teach clients and customers or CEOs on public speaking and communication skills. There's a big overlap here. I love the fact that you brought in the performance. You might feel insecure deep down, but it's Big Ryan who has to enter the room. Can you tell us who Big Ryan was? What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, at the time when $1 Million Listing was casting and I was doing a handful of my first deals, my experience level was small, tiny rentals to roommates from college. That's what I knew how to do because it was easy. Those people were on my level.
Yeah,
right? I could look them in the eye and we could get a beer together. My comfort level, on the social scene was being at home. I would much rather curl up and watch a movie or go see a play in dark than have to go out to a party or a nightclub. And so, then I get into real estate and I have to be this open extrovert to be successful because it's a people business. And even when I was acting, it was the whole reason I got into it was because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I wasn't good at sports. So this theater thing, I can go pretend to be somebody else. I don't have to be myself. That's awesome. And so, I have a little thing called a confidence costume, where, on days where you're just not feeling like yourself, or days that you just don't want to put on that performance, days where you just want to stay in bed, that outfit is my go-to, where I put it on and I feel like Superman. Right, that one outfit that feels really, really great, where I can walk around and I know that I'm going to be totally unstoppable. And I talk a lot in the book about how to find that, how to get to that level of comfort. How to find a security blanket when you're nervous and when you're anxious, to help propel you into that next step of your career.
Ryan, I write about storytelling quite a bit. And maybe it's because you were an actor, but I'm fascinated by the aspect of your career where you weave storytelling and you bring storytelling into your real estate business. When clients wanted to see a listing, and I'm sure this is early in your career, but it's also today, when clients want to see a listing, you come armed with stories. And that's what I find fascinating. Stories about the building, the area, the community, the developer, the designer, or even people who live there. Ryan, are you a storyteller or a real estate agent?
Oh, I'm 100% a storyteller. Right? Facts tell, stories sell. That's why they say that. I tell stories about the properties and you get people excited. Right? I tell stories about my own life, my brand, and I keep my reputation going. I tell stories about my company to get people excited. The real estate is the work. The real estate's the widget, but the talent is in the ability to tell a story, to captivate someone's interest and excitement, because that's what I'm selling. I'm selling excitement. I'm selling enthusiasm. I've never sold a home to somebody who was crying or who was upset or who was bored. I sell homes to people who, in one way, shape, or form, have some level of excitement for the amount of money that they're about to spend on these walls. That was a light bulb moment for me too.
Ryan, finally, it seems on this theme of storytelling, quite frankly, you really do change the narrative. You not only change the narrative in your personal and professional life, but in your head, you talk about the things that, the stories that we all tell ourselves about who we are. We can either tell ourselves stories that will embolden us or weaken us. That choice is yours. Do you believe that how we see the world through our lens has an enormous impact on our success and the narrative we tell ourselves? Because the narrative you told yourself 10 years ago was very different than the person who you were, at least to society, and you became that person. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I think for a while for me, and I believe for a lot of people now, you let your past infect your present. So whatever happened yesterday, it crushes your day to day because it's still on your mind. Whatever happened last year, you got fired, you got dumped, you got bad grades. You let it infect your present. And yes, certain things in life are character building. Yes, they're foundation building. Yes, if you flunk out of school, that's going to be tough for your job markets. But you don't have to take those negative emotions with you. You can allow them to be the fuel for the fire that projects you into the future. And I'm a big visualizer. I think the more you visualize your future, the more you think about future you, the greater the chances are that that is going to manifest itself into reality because you think about it all the time. That's why they say in working out, like, think about the body that you want. Don't just go and do the motions because the motions aren't going to do anything. You got to connect your mind to your body, and then your mind is going to tell your body what it's going to do. And that's the same thing for success. It's the same thing in business. If you tell yourself, I am going to be successful in this period of time, and you mean it, and you write it down, and you think about it every day, all day, it will happen.
Ryan, do you have any advice for recent graduates, young professionals, aspiring leaders, when it comes to sharpening their communication skills?
I think the biggest communication issue that young people have today is they do not know how to listen. They don't listen. They are programmed to reply. And that's a big thing that I learned acting, actually, and has been invaluable to me in sales. Most people listen to reply instead of listening to respond, right? Everyone wants their turn to talk. Everybody wants their turn to talk. We all know that person or those people who, they say to you, oh, how was your weekend? You tell them how your weekend was, and then they cut you off. They say, oh, really? Well, my weekend, because they don't care, right? They don't care. They're just focused on themselves, and they just want to speak. The best way to make friends, to win jobs, to win dates, to make your way in the world as an adult is to show genuine interest in people and actually listen to what they're saying and then respond to them, right? Adapt what they've just said and respond in kind, and then speak with what you were going to say if it still makes sense, right? And allow other people to hear themselves speak. That's a big key for me, right? Babies cry, not because they're in pain, because it makes them feel better, because they know they're still there, right? They cry because they're soothed by the sound of their own voice, as annoying as it might be. Adults do the same thing, except they do it with words. And so I allow all of my clients to talk as much as they can. I ask them all the questions, and they buy more through me. They sell more through me. They give me exactly what I want because they feel better, because I respond to what they're saying instead of just replying to what I was going to say anyway, because I want to get this done and let's move on and yada, yada, yada. It's all about me.
So I see your acting skills really did become extremely valuable to you in your career. Love those stories and many more in the book, Big Money Energy. Thanks for bringing some big energy to my conversation with you, Ryan. Just terrific. You're very inspiring.
Thanks so much.
It's really fun to talk to you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.